Hi students, today we'll discuss about a very important chapter. The chapter is important and not only for your exam purpose. The chapter is also very important for your daily life purpose. Land is a very important factor or important component of the earth on which we live. If there is any problem in the land, then it will be very much difficult for all the living world to live on the land. But what is the present scenario? Due to different kinds of humans activity, the land is gradually polluted. Or on the other way, we can tell that we are polluting the land. So what is the result? If land is polluted, then overall scenario will be changed. So today we'll discuss about the land pollution. Myself, Tanmoy Dotto, Assistant Professor, Department of Chemistry, JS College of Engineering, welcome you all in my first lecture of land pollution. Now, today we'll discuss about the lithosphere. Okay, so we'll discuss about the what is the lithosphere, what is the different kinds of solid waste. First of all, we will define about the solid waste. What is the solid waste? Okay, how we can define the solid waste. Then we will discuss about the classification of the solid waste. There are different types of classification of possible for the solid waste. Okay, from different angle. So we will discuss these things in the today's class. Okay, so first of all we'll discuss about the lithosphere. Okay, so if we discuss about the lithosphere or the land, then first of all you have to know little bit about the earth. Okay, so lithosphere, generally the solid component of the earth is called lithosphere, or it is referred to as land. In order to understand the structure of lithosphere in depth, it is essential to know the fundamental facts regarding the earth. The earth is the fifth largest planet in the solar system. It is believed that it originated approximately 5,000 million years ago. Initially, it was a gaseous ball of fire. This gaseous ball of fire took approximately 1,500 million years to cool down, and in the cooling process, in this process of when the earth was cooling, in this process maximum of its component slowly condensed in the form of liquid. The heavier and denser materials then sank to the center of the liquid earth, and the lighter materials obviously floated up to the surface, of which gradually cooled in layers to form the hard rocky skin known as earth crust. So this is the basic definition. So finally we can tell the hard outermost surface of the earth is called actually lithosphere or the land. Okay, so lithosphere generally can be defined in this way, that lithosphere is the hard outermost surface. Okay, this is the hard outermost surface of the earth. Now lithosphere, actually this lithosphere has the three layers. Okay, from the center to the surface there are three layers of the lithosphere. So depending on the different area or different thickness, the lithosphere, three areas of the lithosphere is called, first one from the surface, it is called crust. Okay, so first lithosphere level or the layer is called crust. Second one is called mantle. Okay, so below the crust there is the mantle, and the third one is called the core. Okay, so there are mainly three layers of the lithosphere. First one is the crust, second one is the mantle, and third one is the core. And there are some information regarding the crust, mantle, or the core in this way. Like crust is the most outermost part. Okay, outermost part means on which actually we live. Okay, so the thickness of the crust it varies from the approximately 64 kilometer to approximately 96 kilometer. Okay, so this is the rough average thickness of the crust, and this upper layer is very important, because this upper layer of the crust, again the crust can be classified, there are two layers in this way. Each and every case it can be applied, either crust or mantle or core. In case of crust, if you think about that, if there is an upper layer, so if you consider the upper layer on which we live, that's why it is very much important. So in upper layer, this is mainly composed by SiAl. You know, this is very important because the upper layer is composed by the silicon and the aluminium. Okay, Si for silicon and Al for aluminium. So that's why it is very much important. And in the same way, the lower layer, there is also another layer, and this is called actually lower layer. So lower layer is important in this way. Lower layer, or the layer following the upper layer, lower, or you can call it the layer following the upper layer, following the upper layer. Okay, this is mainly composed by layer following the upper layer. Okay, so this is also important from the point of view that there is another name of the layer following the upper layer. This is called the SIAM. Okay, SIMA. Okay, so what is the meaning of SIMA? Because layer following the upper layer, this is also composed by silicon, Si for silicon, and Ma for Si for silicon, and Ma for magnesium. Okay, so you have to keep in mind these two terms, SiAl and SIMA, because why I am telling these two terms, because these two terms are very much important for your MCQ question purpose. Okay, either SIAl, what is the full form of SIAl, and what is the full form of SIMA. In the same way, both the mantle and core also, there are two kinds of layer. One is the upper layer and another is the layer following the upper layer. So this is the rough classification of the lithosphere. Now come to the most important part of this chapter. This is the solid waste. Okay, so now what is the solid waste, or how we can define the solid waste? So if we consider the solid waste, then solid waste means the materials which we throw after their utilization. Solid waste means the materials which we throw after their utilization, it becomes the solid waste. It may be anything. Okay, it may be anything means it may be our domestic the materials which we use in each and everyday purpose. It may be the materials which is used in the hospital, nursing home. Any kind of solid materials which is used in the used, and after using or after utilization, when you throw, it creates the solid waste. And you know that people awareness of our country is so poor that we always used to throw the plastic materials or the packaging materials in open place rather than the garbage. Okay, we did not follow the rather than the dustbin. We do not follow actually to throw the materials in the dustbin where it is available, or when we are walking through the road, we directly throw all the materials on the road, either from bus or taxi or whatever, and this creates a major problem as a solid waste. And what is the fate of the solid waste? Do you know that a solid waste reduces the usable place of the land. This is another problem. Okay, so solid waste actually reduces the usable place. So if it reduces the usable place of the land, that become that there is another tremendous problem. Okay, so that's why we should be careful about the solid waste or the solid waste generation. Now, literally we can define the solid waste that the materials which are mainly generated through anthropogenic activities, different kinds of anthropogenic activities, and discarded as useless or unwanted are called the solid waste. This is the definition for your exam purpose. This is the literal definition that which actually which is or which are produced due to different kinds of anthropogenic activities, and due to that reason what is produced, that are called actually solid waste. Now come to the most important part of this chapter, that types of solid waste. What are the types of solid waste? So solid waste, mainly there are different kinds of solid waste depending on the source. Okay, so source means from where solid waste is generated. Depending on this factor we can classify the solid waste. So first of all, municipal solid waste. So municipal solid waste means these are generally non-hazardous solid waste. Okay, what is collected by the municipality each and every day morning. You know that in the municipal area there is a collector who come to collect all the solid waste materials from house to house, and this type of solid waste generally become the non-hazardous, and it is collected from either city, either town, either village. Okay, and which are collected, and it is transported for recycling and disposal. So these kind of solid waste materials are called actually municipal solid waste. Then industrial solid waste. What is the industrial solid waste? Industrial solid waste means the solid waste which were mainly generated from the industry, different kinds of industry. Okay, so here there is a thing that industrial solid waste, it is not a constant. Okay, constant means it depends on industry to industry. That means if it is any kind of chemical industry, then the what is produced, that will be chemicals. Okay, so if it is any medicine industry, then it will be the drug industry, then it will be the solid waste will be the chemicals related to the drug or like that. Okay, so that depends on the what is the nature of the industry. So that's why the examples of industrial solid waste are not restricted, or we can't tell the general example of the industrial solid waste. It can vary from one industry to another industry. Another example is that commercial solid waste. Commercial solid waste means which are mainly generated from commercial place. Commercial place means it may be the markets, it may be shops, it may be godowns, it may be departmental stores, it may be different kinds of commercial area. Okay, like shopping mall, maybe marketplace. Okay, and there are some common examples. The common examples or the big amount of solid waste materials from the commercial area. These are the packaging materials. You have to keep in mind, packaging materials is the major example of the solid waste which is generated from the commercial place. Like another small examples also there, like discarded goods are there, papers are there, glass are there, ceramics are there. Little bit vegetables and fish also remains there, because if it is fish market, then obviously there you can expect some organic materials which is coming from the fish also. It can be treated as the solid waste. So any kind of solid waste materials which are generated from the commercial place, these are called the commercial solid waste. Next is the agricultural solid waste. What is the agricultural solid waste? Agricultural solid waste means they are generally consist of roots and stems of the crops. Okay, this is a common example of the agricultural solid waste, roots and stems of the crops. There may be some kinds of pesticides also. This is the most dangerous solid waste which is produced from the agricultural field. There's the herbicides also, insecticides also. Okay, so animal dung also available in case of agricultural field as a solid waste materials. So these you have to keep in mind. These are the general examples of the agricultural solid waste. Now come to the fact that what is the domestic solid waste. All of us, we know that each and every day what is produced from our house, each and every day, these all are the domestic solid waste. So domestic solid waste means it may be old paper, okay, it may be old paper, it may be plastic cloths, it may be bottles, it may be vegetable waste. There's each and every day, you know, each and every house, there the common type of the domestic solid waste is that a vegetable waste. Okay, so each and every day it is produced from each and everyone's house. Okay, so another cloths also available, bottles also available. These are each and every day, like old paper, plastic, cloths, bottles. Each and every day you can find out these are produced from each and everybody house. So these are the domestic solid waste. So the main thing is that what a type of solid waste is generated from the domestic purpose or the house or from the home, so that all the things are included in the domestic solid waste. Come to the most dangerous type of solid waste, and this is the biomedical solid waste. Why I am telling dangerous? Because biomedical solid waste consists of, or biomedical solid waste carry some kinds of germs. Okay, so that's why it is very much dangerous, and the disposal process also we should be very much careful when we are disposing the biomedical solid waste. Okay, now what are the biomedical solid waste? If you look here, in case of biomedical solid waste, which are generally generated from the hospitals, nursing homes, okay, like clinics. Okay, so there are different kinds of things are produced, including here, look here, disposable syringe, used surgical dressings, expired drugs, etc., which are highly contaminated and should be treated with great care. Okay, this is very, very important things we have to keep in mind, that when we are treating the biomedical solid waste, we should be very, very careful regarding because it is highly contaminated. It carries some germs, different kinds of germs are there, some maybe some viruses are also there. So we should be very much careful when we are finally we are disposing the biomedical solid waste. And I will discuss also in the latter that there should be some special type of treatments are also available by which we can dispose the biomedical solid waste. Biomedical solid waste, not like the process of the generally we can dispose the biomedical solid waste. Okay, so there are some kinds of special care which we have to take for the biomedical solid waste. And now come to the last category or last type of solid waste, which is the e-waste. Okay, which is actually e-waste. So not last, actually there may be another kind of also remaining one kind of solid waste in this category. So after e-waste I will tell you that the e-waste means in case of e-waste, E means it is any kind of electronic waste, any kind of. So e-waste can be defined that it as the discarded compound. Okay, any kind of discarded compounds are called discarded computers. It may be computers, any kind of electronic device, like starting from the mobile phone, electronic televisions, set, refrigerator, that all are included in the category of the e-waste. That means what electronic gadget we are using each and every day, that all are included in the category of the e-waste. And you know, nowadays that e-waste become the major problem. Okay, because you think about that what mobile phones we are using today, tomorrow it will become the not the latest version. Okay, tomorrow it will become the older. Then when we want to try a new set or new mobile phone, then what will be with our present cell phone? There is not such kind of any policy by which we can exchange each and every phone. There is some kinds of exchange policy also available, but it is limited, or it is totally depends on the its company. particular company. Okay, but not like that, that if we want to buy a new phone, then there is an option by which we can replace by old model, and the company will use the spare parts of that particular model. So there will be a recycling process. So this type of process is not available till now. That's why the day by day the amount of e-waste that is increasing day by day. Now go to the remaining type of solid waste, though it is not strictly categorized, but we can add that kind of this kind of types of solid waste also, that is called the institutional solid waste. Okay, so in case of institutional solid waste means which are mainly generated from the institutes. Institutes means you can take it that institutes means like it may be college, it may be school. Okay, so these are the examples where the solid waste materials are generated. And what are the main examples of the or main types of the solid waste which are produced from the institution? There may be like pen, like paper. Okay, like pen, paper, copies, different kinds of copies are there. Okay, but nowadays, you know, in each and every institute, the major amount of solid waste which is produced, that is the e-waste. That's why it is not exactly categorized in this way, but you can write down, or you can take it as the another type of solid waste as the institutional solid waste, because institutional solid waste carry other than e-waste also, like pen, paper, copies, plastic materials also, carry bags also, like desk also. So these are the another kind of examples which are produced other than e-waste. Now the solid waste which are generated from the domestic purpose and the commercial purpose, that kinds of solid waste scientifically we can classify in the two ways. First one is the garbage, and second one is the rubbish. Okay, so one is the garbage and another is the rubbish. Okay, so that classification depends on the another facts. Another fact means garbage means what is the garbage? Garbage means it is the solid waste which result from the preparation or storage of the vegetables, fruits, fish, meats at home, or the some kinds of factory or like that, or marketplace or whatever. So garbage means we can take the garbage as it is the all kind of organic materials. Okay, so garbage is the all kinds of organic materials. Okay, or on the other hand, we can take the garbage means it is the all kinds of biodegradable materials. Okay, so where the biodegradable materials are considered, it may be the fruit peels, it may be the peels of the vegetables, it may be the different kinds of organic matter, that all are included in the case of garbage. So biodegradable means what is the term biodegradable? Biodegradable means this kind of solid waste will be mixed with the earth after some days or after some years. Okay, because due to some decomposition of the that kind of solid waste materials by some kinds of microorganisms. Okay, so these are called actually garbage, and you know, this kind of garbage contain there is a lots of nutrients. Okay, or it contain the lots of nutrients. So if it contain the nutrients, so if we properly treat this kind of garbages, then what happen? We can again recollect that nutrients. Okay, now come to the point of the rubbish. What is the rubbish? Rubbish means mainly these are the inorganic or non-biodegradable materials. That means the commercial place from where the solid waste materials are generated, that are generally non-biodegradable materials. This non-biodegradable materials, again it is classified, all types of non-biodegradable materials, again it is classified in the two ways. First one is the combustible. Okay, so first one is the combustible. So one is the combustible. So combustible means, what is the meaning of combustible? Combustible means which can be burned. Okay, so combustible means which can be burned. Okay, these are the examples of the combustible solid waste. For example, like paper. Okay, the example of the combustible solid waste is the paper. It may be wood. So these all are the examples of the combustible solid waste. Okay, on the other hand there is a non-combustible solid waste also. Okay, so on the other hand there is a non-combustible solid waste. So non-combustible solid waste. So what is the non-combustible solid waste? Non-combustible solid waste means which we cannot burn. Okay, or it is not possible to burn the solid waste material. So for example, if you take the example like glass. Okay, glass is the example of the non-combustible solid waste. If you take the examples of the metals. Okay, so metals are the examples of the non-combustible solid waste. So this classification also you have to keep in mind, because this is important, that scientifically we can classify the solid waste mainly or majorly the solid waste which is generated from the domestic purpose or commercial purpose. That kinds of solid waste we can classify in the two ways. One is the organic solid waste, that is called garbage. Another is the inorganic solid waste, which is called the rubbish. Or other sense, we can also classify in this way that garbages are normally biodegradable, but rubbish, they are not biodegradable. So garbage are contain lots of nutrients. When we will discuss in the next class, there is some management, solid waste management, then you will understand that the recycling process by which we can recollect the solid waste materials, okay, or nutrients again. So that's why garbages are very much important. Before decomposing, we have to follow some kinds of recycling process. Okay, so in this way we can classify the solid waste. So that's all for today. So what we discussed till now, I again repeat what we discussed till now. First of all, we discussed about these concepts are very very important for your next class. You have to keep in mind all the concepts starting from what is the lithosphere. Okay, so starting from what is the lithosphere, then you have to keep in mind that the lithosphere different kinds of layers are there, like crust, mantle, and the core. Okay, and the second thing which you have to keep in mind, that very important for this chapter or for your daily life also, that what is the solid waste, or how we can define the solid waste. Okay, how we can define the solid waste, this is very much important. And the third is the solid waste classification. Okay, so third is the classification of the solid waste. Okay, so third is the classification of the solid waste. The classification, there are two ways of the classification. So first one is the classification depends on the your source. Okay, so from where it is generated, so depending on the source we can classify the solid waste. And second classification is the depending on the your scientific point of view, either it is biodegradable or it is non-biodegradable. So all that things you have to keep in mind properly, and these concepts are very much important when we will discuss in the next class, that there are different ways by which we can dispose the solid waste materials, or finally we have to destroy the solid waste materials. But before destroying the solid waste materials, we have to check some things, like either there is any nutrient present which we can recollect, or either the solid waste materials carry any kind of germs, or it is harmful for the body, either it is corrosive or like that. So these concepts are very much important, so which you have to keep in mind for the next class. And okay, so thank you all, thanks to all of you for attending my class, and in the next class we'll meet with you again with a new topic. Thank you.